Forget the shivs. Forget the elaborate escape plots. The real war in the American prison system is a silent, bureaucratic masterpiece. A conflict fought over a piece of macaroni, a Dungeons & Dragons character sheet, and the precise color of your underwear. We're pulling back the curtain on 50 rules so profoundly absurd they sound less like corrections and more like a fever dream. This is the theater of the absurd, staged in concrete, and the curtain is rising. 1. The pink underwear mandate. We begin in Maricopa County, Arizona, under the reign of its most theatrical lawman, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. For years, Arpaio forced male inmates to wear bright pink underwear. The official line, delivered with a straight face, was that it was a cost-saving measure that deterred theft. The unofficial, universally understood reason? It was a masterclass in calculated psychological humiliation. It was a power trip rendered in pastel, turning grown men into unwilling participants in a bizarre public shaming ritual. The policy backfired so spectacularly that the contraband pink boxers became a hot collector's item online, a perfect symbol of the policy's failure. It was a rule designed to break spirits that instead became a running joke. 2. The Architecture of Humiliation. The prison toilet is a marvel of dehumanizing design. Invariably forged from cold, unforgiving steel, it is seatless, stark, and almost always placed in full, unobstructed view of guards and other inmates. This is not an oversight. It is a feature, a deliberate architectural choice in the service of constant surveillance. It is the physical embodiment of the system's core philosophy. There is no corner dark enough for you to hide, no act private enough to be your own. It eliminates the last sliver of personal space a human being can claim, transforming a basic biological function into a performance for the panopticon. You are never, ever alone, not even for a second. 3. The Unforgiving Silhouette. Forget business casual. In many prisons, the dress code is perpetual schoolboy. A common rule dictates that an inmate's shirt must be tucked in at all times. Every single moment you are outside your cell, your silhouette must comply. The stated reason, as always, is security, preventing the concealment of weapons or contraband. The result, however, is a surreal ballet of compliance. It's grown men convicted of serious crimes constantly fidgeting with their waistbands like nervous teens on picture day. It's a constant nagging reminder that the system's control over you is so absolute, so microscopic, that it extends to the very way your uniform drapes. Your parole might not depend on good behavior, but on a good tuck. 4. The Follicle Felony. Welcome to the high-stakes world of prison grooming, where the difference between a model prisoner and a rule breaker is literally a hair's breadth. Many facilities have bafflingly specific rules on facial hair. In one, a mustache is fine, but a beard is a violation. In the prison next door, a beard is acceptable, but only if it's trimmed to precisely 1/4 inch. Let it grow to a 1/2 inch and you're headed for a disciplinary report. This isn't about hiding a lockpick in your goatee, it's about arbitrary control. It's about creating a reality where a guard with a ruler can hold absolute power over your face. A perfect daily exercise in bureaucratic hair splitting. 5. The Uniformity Edict. That state-issued uniform, it's not just a suggestion, it's a sacred text. Inmates are forbidden from altering their uniforms in any way. Hemming pants that are 3 inches too long, tailoring a shirt that billows like a circus tent, these are serious infractions. It sounds minor, but it's a critical tactic for stripping away individuality. A well-fitting garment, even a cheap one, can be a small source of confidence, a sliver of personal dignity. By forcing everyone into ill-fitting, one-size-fits-all jumpsuits, the institution ensures a visual conformity that mirrors the internal conformity it demands. You will not only act the same, you will look the same, right down to the sloppy, pooling cuffs on your pants. 6. The Chromatic Crime. In a bizarre twist of logic, many prisons ban any clothing that resembles the guards' uniforms. This means inmates are often forbidden from wearing plain gray sweatshirts or, most commonly, khaki-colored pants. These colors are reserved for staff, and the fear is that an inmate could use the clothing to impersonate an officer and waltz out the front door. This creates a world where a color itself is contraband. It turns a simple neutral tone t-shirt into a potential escape kit. It's a level of paranoia where khaki is no longer a color. It's a security clearance, and you, my friend, are not authorized. 7. The Velcro Vice. You can't just wear any shoes in prison. The rules around footwear are a special kind of madness. Velcro straps, for instance, are a common target for bans. Why? Because they can be easily removed and, well, the logic trails off. Perhaps they fear inmates will bind someone with a pair of geriatric-friendly Reeboks. In some facilities, all black or all white sneakers are forbidden, as they are associated with specific gangs. This leads to a situation where the only approved footwear is some strange, off-brand, multicolored monstrosity that no one in any universe would ever choose to wear. Your sentence isn't just about doing time, it's about doing time in the ugliest shoes imaginable. 8. The Scent of Sadism. Even the act of staying clean is a lesson in diminished status. Inmates often have to purchase their own hygiene items, and the options are a masterclass in institutional sadism. The deodorant is a weak, ineffective crystal stick that offers all the protection of a hopeful thought. The toilet paper is a single-ply horror that feels more like tracing paper. The soap is a tiny generic bar that smells vaguely of industrial cleaner and dissolves in a day. These aren't just low-quality products. They are specifically designed to be the bare legal minimum of what can be considered hygiene. A constant, abrasive, sensory reminder of your place in the food chain. 9. The Crip-Walking color wheel. The war on fashion doesn't stop with uniforms. In many state prisons, your favorite color can literally be a punishable offense. We're talking about the color of your t-shirt, your bandana, even your shoelaces, if you're lucky enough to have them. Wearing blue or red in particular is often banned outright to prevent any association with the Crips or the Bloods. This creates a world of surreal, high-stakes fashion policing. Did you just choose that blue shirt because it brings out your eyes? Too bad. In the eyes of the institution, you're not just making a style choice. You're practically declaring a gang affiliation. Your laundry day is now a potential turf war. 10. The Sorcery and Gangs Act. Imagine being thrown into solitary confinement not for a weapon, but for a game of Dungeons and Dragons. In many prisons, this is a reality. The official reason is that the game fosters gang-related activity. They are literally picturing a turf war between the Forgotten Realms crew and the Greyhawk posse, settled not with shivs, but with saving throws versus poison. They also claim it promotes escapism, which, in a prison, is a bit like complaining about water being too wet. Who's the bigger threat to prison order? The guy with a teardrop tattoo? Or the guy who can, from memory, tell you the armor class of an adult red dragon? The bureaucracy has spoken. 11. The Bishops Gambit. If you think the war on fantasy is absurd, consider the war on strategy. The game of chess is often banned. Let that sink in. Wardens aren't worried about shivs. They're worried about a well-executed Sicilian defense. You can almost picture the SWAT team bursting into a cell screaming, "Drop the bishop! Hands where I can see them!" They are treating a board game like it's a covert Black Ops mission. The intellectual maneuvering, the long-term planning, the silent strategic battle. It's all deemed too dangerous, too analogous to criminal thinking. Checkers, on the other hand, is usually fine. Apparently, the intellectual horsepower required for a triple jump is considered tactically non-threatening. 12. The Literary Censorship Lottery. Want to read a book in prison? Good luck navigating the literary tastes of the warden. First, you can't have family send you a used paperback. It must come directly from an approved vendor. This has led to some of the most mind-boggling censorship imaginable. The Texas prison system, at one point, famously banned the Pulitzer Prize-winning The Color Purple and even Shakespeare's sonnets, yet deemed Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf and David Duke's white supremacist screeds as perfectly acceptable reading material. How do you even begin to understand a logic where love poems are deemed more dangerous to the social order than a manifesto of genocide? 13. The Imagination Police. An inmate's desire to create art is often seen as a direct security risk. Many prisons have incredibly specific, almost surreal bans on art supplies. Red ink is frequently forbidden because it can be mistaken for blood. Certain types of charcoal or thick pencils are banned for fear they could be sharpened into weapons. Some facilities even regulate the content of drawings, confiscating anything deemed gang-related, inflammatory, or sexually suggestive. The underlying message is terrifyingly clear. We don't just want to control your body, we want to control your imagination too. Every sketch is a potential crime scene, every doodle a possible conspiracy. 14. The Hazardous Tattoo. Prison tattooing is an art form born of pure ingenuity and desperation. The gun is often a tiny motor salvaged from a fan or radio, attached to a sharpened guitar string or staple. The ink is a slurry of burnt plastic, soot, or pen ink mixed with shampoo or even urine. Getting caught with this equipment is unsurprisingly a major offense, but the punishment is where the cruelty becomes exquisite. On top of solitary confinement, inmates are often forced to pay for the medical procedure to have the tattoo surgically removed. They charge you to erase the very art you created to feel human in a place designed to strip that humanity away. 15. The Forbidden Tongue. In a nation built on countless languages, there are prisons that enforce a strict English-only policy. The stated purpose is security. Guards need to understand what inmates are saying to prevent plots and maintain order. But opponents argue it's a thinly veiled attempt to isolate and control, particularly aimed at Spanish-speaking or indigenous inmates. Imagine being locked away, stripped of your freedom, and then having the language of your family, your thoughts, and your prayers declared a security threat. It's a rule that doesn't just confine your body. It attempts to imprison your very culture, silencing you in the one place you have left, your own mind. 16. The Sound of Silence. In the universe of prison rules, silence isn't just golden, it's mandatory. During quiet hours, which can stretch for most of the day and all night, inmates are forbidden from talking above a whisper. Flushing a toilet too loudly, shuffling your feet, or even coughing vigorously can be grounds for a disciplinary report. It's an enforced, unnatural quiet that turns a facility full of hundreds of people into a library of ghosts. The message is clear. Your voice, like your freedom, is a privilege that can be revoked at any moment. You are here to be seen, to be counted, but not to be heard. 17. The Crime of Joy. If silence is mandatory, then joy is a disturbance. In the crushing, sterile quiet of a cell block, a moment of personal happiness can be an act of defiance. It can also be a punishable offense. Whistling a tune or singing softly to yourself can get you written up for creating a disturbance. It doesn't matter if you're hitting the high notes of an aria or just trying to remember a song from the radio. If a guard doesn't like it, it's a violation. It's a place where even your own happiness is considered noise pollution. In prison, joy doesn't just die. It gets a disciplinary report. 18. The Theological Threat Assessment. Religious freedom is technically a constitutional right, but in prison it comes with a lot of asterisks. While major, mainstream religions are usually accommodated, requests for less common items or practices are often denied for security reasons. A request for ceremonial oils? Denied, for fear they could be used to make a weapon slippery. A sweat lodge for a Native American inmate? Denied, as a potential escape route or a fire hazard. It's a system where your path to spiritual salvation, your connection to your faith, must first pass a bureaucratic threat assessment. Your God is welcome here, as long as he files the correct paperwork. 19. The Bar to Learning. Inmates who want to pursue higher education face a mountain of restrictions. One of the most common is the near-total ban on internet access. While the security reasons are obvious, this policy effectively cuts inmates off from the single most important tool of modern research and learning. They are forced to rely on outdated, donated textbooks and correspondence courses that are decades behind. It's a system that says it believes in rehabilitation, but then denies inmates the one tool most essential for re-entering the modern world. It's like teaching someone to drive using a horse and buggy and then wondering why they can't handle the freeway. 20. The Averted Gaze. In the most secure prisons in the country, a single glance can be a weapon. Inmates are officially forbidden from making direct eye contact with guards. It's not just an unspoken power trip, it's a written rule. Looking a guard in the eye is interpreted as a direct challenge, an act of eyeballing, an aggression punishable on the spot. It is a profound psychological tool designed to systematically erase an inmate's humanity and reinforce the power dynamic. One averted glance at a time. How long do you think you could last in a world where a basic, fundamental human connection is a forbidden act? 21. The invisible barrier. The concept of personal space is a forgotten luxury. The 3-foot rule, in place in many prisons, dictates that inmates must maintain at least 3 feet of distance from any staff member, particularly guards, at all times. This invisible bubble is sacrosanct. Accidentally brushing past a guard in a narrow hallway or failing to step aside quickly enough can be interpreted as an assault or an attempt to breach the perimeter. It's a rule that turns every corridor and doorway into a minefield of potential violations, forcing inmates to contort their bodies and movements to avoid breaking an invisible, ever-present barrier. 22. The Plexiglass Wall. Imagine you haven't seen your child in 5 years. You finally get a visit. They're sitting right in front of you, just inches away. And you are absolutely, under no circumstances, allowed to touch them. This is the reality of no-contact visits in many facilities. A thick pane of plexiglass separates families, turning a moment of human connection into a sterile, heartbreaking pantomime. You speak through a crackly telephone receiver, pressing your hand against the glass where their hand is. It's a rule designed to punish not just the inmate, but everyone who loves them, severing the one bond that might pull them back. 23. The crime of generosity. Giving another inmate a few extra noodles from your tray or a spare bar of soap? That seems like a simple act of kindness, right? In prison, it's a violation known as unauthorized transfer of property. Sharing food, a book, or a spare t-shirt is strictly forbidden. The logic is that any exchange can be a form of barter, a debt, or a gang-related transaction. The result is a system that actively discourages generosity, compassion, and community. It's a world where looking out for a fellow human being who has nothing is seen not as charity, but as a potential conspiracy. 24. The unspoken seating chart. If you think you can just sit anywhere you want in the prison chow hall, you are dangerously mistaken. Seating is often rigidly segregated, sometimes officially by gang affiliation or race to prevent violence. But even in less structured environments, an unspoken but brutally enforced code dictates who sits where. Sitting at the wrong table isn't just a social blunder. It's an invitation to a fight, a challenge to an established hierarchy. It's a daily, high-stakes game of musical chairs where the wrong move can get you seriously hurt, all before you've even had your flavorless oatmeal. 25. The Kite-Flying Felony. In prison, you don't pass notes, you fly kites. These are tiny, tightly folded messages passed from one inmate to another, often on a string made of unraveled sock thread or passed hand to hand. And getting caught with one is a serious infraction. The contents of the kite are almost irrelevant. It could be a complex escape plan, or it could be a reminder to a friend about that secret DID session you're planning. It doesn't matter. The act of unsanctioned communication itself is the crime. Every piece of paper becomes a potential conspiracy. Every folded corner a reason for suspicion. 26. The anonymous authority. In many prisons, you are not allowed to know the last names of the guards who control every aspect of your life. Officers are identified only by their last initial, a number on their uniform, or a generic tag that just says officer. This isn't for efficiency, it's for power. By stripping them of a name, the system makes them anonymous, unaccountable figures. You can't file a complaint against Officer Smith if you only know him as Officer S or badge number 472. It is the ultimate meta rule, one that protects the entire system by making its enforcers into nameless, interchangeable cogs in a machine of absolute authority. 27. The Ramen Standard. In the bizarre economy of the American prison system, the US dollar is dead. The new gold standard? Instant ramen noodles. After smoking bans made cigarettes worthless, soups became the bedrock of commerce. A single 59-cent brick of dried noodles can buy you a clean sweatshirt, pay off a gambling debt, or hire another inmate for protection. It's the only place in the world where a guy with a case of Maruchan beef has more liquid assets than a guy on the outside with a law degree. This isn't just lunch, it's a financial instrument. It's Wall Street, but with more MSG. 28. The Hazardous Tool. You've heard of prisoners making homemade alcohol, Pruno, or toilet wine from fermented fruit, bread, and ketchup. But the true genius is in the legal acrobatics used to punish them. When you're caught with a batch of this foul-smelling brew, you're not just written up for contraband. In many federal prisons, the official charge is possession of a hazardous tool. Let that sink in. Your disgusting, bubbling bag of fruit mush is legally classified alongside a sharpened shank or a homemade bomb. It's a system that doesn't just punish you. It redefines your sad attempt at a party as an act of industrial sabotage. 29. The Fruit Cocktail Cavity Search. As a follow-up to the Pruno rule, we have the plight of the kitchen worker. Inmates who work in the prison kitchen are subjected to a special kind of paranoia. After a shift handling ingredients like yeast, sugar, or fruit, they are often required to undergo a full-body strip search before they can return to their housing unit. The fear, of course, is that they're smuggling the building blocks for tomorrow's batch of toilet wine. So, after spending hours preparing food for everyone else, your reward is a humiliating cavity search. All because you happen to be in the same room as a can of fruit cocktail. 30. The Apple Hoarding Act. In the outside world, saving a snack for later is called planning. In prison, it's called hoarding, and it's a punishable offense. This isn't about stockpiling a month's worth of food. This is about taking the apple from your lunch tray and saving it in your cell for the evening. Guards will confiscate it and write you up for a rule violation. The logic is that hoarded food can be used for bartering. See the Ramen Standard, or brewing Pruno. But the effect is a system that punishes a basic human survival instinct, the simple desire to have a little something for later. 31. The Stamp Act. In the hyper-controlled economy of a prison, even a simple postage stamp is treated like a controlled substance. Inmates are often limited to possessing a specific, small number of stamps, say 10 at a time. If an audit of your cell turns up an 11th stamp, you can be written up for hoarding or contraband. It's a level of micromanagement that is almost poetic in its absurdity. Somewhere in America tonight, a man is sitting in solitary confinement because he was over-prepared to write letters to his family. His crime? Loving mail a little too much. 32. The pay-to-punish system. In the outside world, having a job is a good thing. In prison, it can cost you. Under a practice known as pay-to-stay, some county jails and state prisons charge inmates a daily fee for their own incarceration. This isn't a fine, it's literally room and board. So, if you're lucky enough to land a prison job that pays, say, 15 cents an hour, a significant portion of that income is immediately garnished to pay for the pleasure of your own confinement. It's a system that has perfected the art of making you pay for your own punishment, turning your meager labor into a self-funding loop of misery. 33. The Cashless Pariah. The economic absurdities follow inmates even when they're outside the prison. On work release programs, inmates are often forbidden from handling cash. If a customer pays for their meal or service with physical money, the inmate is not allowed to touch it. A non-inmate employee must handle the transaction. This is to prevent any possibility of skimming money or theft. It creates a surreal scenario where a person trusted to operate a 400-degree deep fryer or interact with the public is deemed too much of a risk to touch a $5 bill. It's a visible, daily reminder of their untrusted status. 34. The Co-Pay Conundrum. If you get sick in prison, getting medical care often starts with a fee. Most prison systems charge inmates a copay for medical or dental visits, typically ranging from $2 to $5. Now that might sound trivial, but when your monthly income is less than $20 from a 15-cent an hour job, that copay represents a huge chunk of your entire world's economy. This policy effectively forces inmates to choose between buying soap and toothpaste from the commissary or seeing a doctor about that persistent hacking cough. Health is not a right, it's a luxury item. 35. The public health record. Your right to medical privacy? That evaporates the second you walk through the prison gates. In many facilities, discussing your health issues means explaining them to a nurse or guard in a crowded, open area, well within earshot of other inmates. There's no private room, no confidentiality. You're forced to announce your most personal, vulnerable, and potentially embarrassing medical information to an audience. It turns healthcare into a public performance, a deliberate ritual of humiliation designed to remind you that your body and all its secrets, frailties, and failures now belong to the state. 36. The Hollow Pasta Protocol. The war on contraband has officially reached the culinary world. A shockingly large number of facilities have a strict no hollow objects rule. This goes way beyond the obvious, landing squarely in the territory of tragedy. In some prisons, any pasta with a hole in it is considered contraband. No macaroni, no penne, no ziti. This is a level of paranoia where guards are trained to see a single piece of rigatoni not as dinner, but as a potential miniature Trojan horse for smuggling something. Your grand escape plan involving a microscopic message hidden in a noodle is foiled. The price? A lifetime of limp, lifeless spaghetti. 37. The Spork Manifesto. For security reasons, actual forks and knives are a distant, beautiful memory. Instead, inmates are issued a single, pathetic piece of plastic, the spork. It is an object that fails spectacularly at being either a spoon or a fork. It's too shallow to hold soup effectively, and its tines are too blunt, splayed, and flimsy to pierce anything tougher than a cooked carrot. It is a monument to institutional compromise. It is a daily, 3 times a day reminder that you are trusted with nothing. Not even a utensil that can do its one simple job correctly. Eating a meal becomes a battle against your own cutlery. 38. The Forbidden Spread. Given the bleakness of the official rations, inmates are masters of culinary innovation. They create elaborate meals called spreads from commissary items. Picture this: a base of crushed ramen noodles mixed with squeezed out sausage and crumbled up Cheetos for flavor, all cooked inside a clean trash bag with hot water from the shower. It's a forbidden delicacy. The official charge for making one is unauthorized food preparation or destruction of state property, the ramen. It's a world where the simple human act of trying to make something delicious, something different, is seen as an act of rebellion. 39. The Joyless Greeting Card. Thinking of sending a loved one a greeting card? It had better be the saddest, most boring card you can find. Most facilities have an ironclad list of forbidden features. No glitter, no stickers, no pop-up elements, no ribbons, and definitely no musical chip that plays Happy Birthday. The fear is that even the tiniest piece of decoration could be tampered with or used to smuggle something. What arrives is a sterile, flat piece of paper that looks less like a birthday wish and more like a notice of a tax audit. It's a system designed to ensure that even a message of love is first stripped of all joy. 40. The Polaroid Paranoia. If a family member sends you a photograph, it better not be a Polaroid. Those classic, white-bordered instant photos are almost universally banned from being mailed into prisons. Why? Because the thick, chemical-laden backing of a Polaroid picture is seen as a perfect, ready-made hiding spot for contraband, a razor blade, a small amount of drugs. It's a prime example of prison paranoia. The system isn't just screening your mail for messages. It's screening the very technology of your memories, viewing a smiling family photo as a potential security breach waiting to happen. 41. The Curated Life. Most prisons limit the number of personal photographs an inmate can have in their cell, usually to 5 or 10 pictures. Now, stop and think about that. You have to curate your entire life, your entire family, down to a handful of 4x6 snapshots. What happens when your daughter gets married or a new grandchild is born? You have to make a choice. To put a new photo up, an old one has to come down. It's a quiet, brutal rule that forces you to literally quantify and rank your connections to the outside world. Who makes the cut? Who gets put in the drawer? 42. The Stain Inquisition. Inmates are entitled to receive mail, but the rules are designed by a committee of paranoid bureaucrats. One of the most insidious is the no stains rule. If a letter from your daughter arrives with a single teardrop that smudged the ink, or a tiny grease spot from the kitchen table, it can be deemed altered and sent back. Guards are trained to see a coffee ring not as a sign of a hurried, heartfelt note, but as a potential coded message or a chemical agent. It's a system where the messy, imperfect, real evidence of life on the outside is treated as a threat. 43. The uncare package. Inmates are not allowed to receive any kind of package from home. No birthday presents, no care packages with homemade cookies, nothing. Every single item an inmate possesses, a bar of soap, a bag of chips, a pair of socks, must be purchased through the highly priced, state-approved commissary catalog or be issued by the prison itself. This rule is designed to stop contraband, but its true effect is to sever the tangible connection to family and home. A simple box of cookies becomes a security threat, and a mother's gesture of love is stamped "Return to Sender." 44. The fluoride surveillance state. The war on contraband has officially reached your morning routine. In many prisons, inmates are only allowed to possess toothpaste that comes in a completely clear, transparent tube. Opaque tubes are a serious infraction. Why? Because you could theoretically hide something inside the plastic itself, or mix contraband into the paste, or who knows? It's a level of mistrust so profound, you start to wonder where it ends. Clear soap, transparent books. It turns the simple act of brushing your teeth into a daily reminder. We are watching you, always, even your fluoride. 45. The incel fitness ban. The simple, solitary act of exercise can be a violation. In many high-security units, inmates are forbidden from exercising in their cells. Doing push-ups, burpees, or sit-ups can be seen as preparing for a fight or manufacturing a weapon by getting stronger, and can lead to punishment. The logic is that a physically fit inmate is a more dangerous inmate. So the system puts you in a tiny concrete box for 23 hours a day and then punishes you for trying to fight off the physical and mental decay that comes with it. It's a perfect, inescapable trap. 46. The ritual of the count. Several times a day, and often in the middle of the night, a brutal announcement is made for count. Everything stops. Inmates must stand in their cells perfectly silent and still while guards walk by and count them. This can take hours if the count is off. Talking, moving, or not being visible can result in immediate punishment. The count isn't just about making sure no one has escaped. It's a ritual of absolute control. It's a constant disruptive reminder that your time, your sleep, and your very presence are subject to inspection at any given moment without warning. 47. The open door policy. You can't cover your cell window, not even for a moment. Inmates are strictly forbidden from hanging a towel, a piece of paper, or even a shirt over the small window in their cell door. Obstructing the view, even for a few seconds of privacy to change your clothes or use the toilet, is a major infraction that will bring guards running. It is the architectural enforcement of total surveillance. It is a constant, physical reminder that your life is an open book and you are not even allowed to turn the page. You are on display 24/7. 48. The dog run. Access to sunlight and fresh air is not guaranteed. While outdoor recreation is standard, the definition of outdoors can be horrifyingly liberal. In many supermax prisons, an inmate's rec time is spent alone in a concrete, high-walled enclosure, often no bigger than a parking space, commonly called a dog run. It might be open to the sky, but there's no grass, no view of the horizon, just a concrete floor and concrete walls. It's a loophole in the definition of outside, providing a sliver of sky but none of the humanity. You can see the sun, but you can't feel the world. 49. The third sock heresy. Every object in an inmate's cell is subject to the rule of authorized possession. You are given a list of exactly what you are allowed to own and how many of each item. For instance, 2 pairs of socks, 1 book, 5 photos, 1 bar of soap. If a guard searches your cell and finds a 3rd pair of socks, it's a violation. This isn't about security. It's about total, microscopic control. It's about creating a world so deprived that owning 1 too many pairs of socks is an act of rebellion. A world where a spare piece of clothing becomes a symbol of illicit wealth. 50. The Final Invoice. If an inmate dies in prison, their family is often sent a bill for the expenses. This can include the cost of transporting the body or any administrative fees associated with the death. Imagine grieving the loss of a loved one, only to receive an invoice from the very institution that held them captive. It is the final bureaucratic indignity. It's a cold, hard reminder that even in death, the system's primary function is not justice, but accounting. It needs to account for and charge for every last thing until the books are finally, cruelly balanced. The grand finale. 50 rules. 50 tiny ornate keys in the grand grinding locking mechanism of the American prison system. As we stand back from this tapestry of the absurd, a single chilling question emerges. Why? The official reason for almost every rule is security. It's a magic word, an incantation that justifies everything. It's the reason a 20-sided die is a gang-related artifact, a greeting card is a potential threat, and a piece of hollow pasta is a public menace. But after 50 examples, security starts to sound less like a reason and more like an alibi. The true purpose is not security. It is power. These rules are not a shield, they are a script. They are the daily liturgy in a grand theatrical performance of absolute control. The point is not to stop a riot. The point is to prove that the system can make you tuck in your shirt. The point is not to prevent an escape. The point is to prove that the system can tell you which way your hair can grow. This is the triumph of bureaucracy over logic, of control over compassion. It's a system that doesn't just cage the body. It actively, methodically, and with profound creativity attempts to dismantle the mind. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, where each cut is a disciplinary report for owning a third sock, for whistling a happy tune, for sharing your noodles. And yet, the human spirit, in its infinite and stubborn creativity, always rebels. It rebels by brewing wine in a toilet. It rebels by turning ramen noodles into a feast. It rebels by finding a way to play chess without a board, or by flying a kite to a friend. The final bitter irony is that the system, in its obsession with criminal thinking, has created the most criminal thinking environment imaginable. It has built a world where survival depends on breaking the rules, where a bar of soap is a political statement, and where the only way to feel human is to commit a tiny, punishable act of rebellion. These rules don't just punish crime, they define a new, all-encompassing universe of it. This system isn't broken. It's a perfectly tuned machine, and it's working exactly as designed. It's built to produce a very specific product. Perfect, predictable, and powerless compliance. So the question isn't which rule would you break first? The real question is, in a system that defines sanity as a violation and joy as a disturbance, how long could you last before the rules broke you?